The Romans are not Egyptians, but they were occupying these countries. And they were a threat to Muslims, and Muslims fought them back in that. But they never forced the people of the countries to change their religions. In fact, in Egypt in particular, there is a very interesting story. Because the Egyptians were Christians since a very long time. I mean, they date back to Mark himself as the founder of the Egyptian church. And when the Romans came, at first they were persecuted before the Romans turned to Christianity. Later on, when around 300 or so AD, when the Roman Empire turned to the religion of Christianity, they had a great period. But then around 450 AD, there was a strife between that kind of came to the creation of the Eastern and Western church. And sadly, at that point, there started another period of persecution of Egyptian Christians, this time at the hands of the Romans. And when the Muslims defeated the Romans out of Egypt, and they became the rulers of Egypt, they did not ask the Christians to now convert to Islam. They just let them be. And the documents of the Coptic Church kept till today mention this period as one of the best periods of the Coptic Church again. Not only that, I can go even further and tell you and ask you, what is the most populous Muslim country in the world? And the answer is Indonesia, right? And there was no wars whatsoever to bring Islam to Indonesia. Okay? In fact, the whole sub-Indian continent was not, Islam spread there just through the people dealing with the merchants and the visitors of Muslim faith and talking to them about the religion, not with a single war. And so here's an answer, take it or leave it, but thank you for hearing. Now, let me go back to that question. Why do I think it's bad when people keep it inside? Because usually it's not just the question that's preventing people from asking it, but there is usually a corollary that kept with it, and they have it in their minds. And the implication, I think, for that particular question is that Islam is not something that one would turn to really from conviction, I mean, but rather they have to be forced into it. That's the only way people can think somebody can become a Muslim. And sadly, that's a pitfall that's present not just in the followers of other religions, but I've seen it in Muslims as well. In fact, I think that sadly most people think that their religion is the most convincing one, and that others following other religions are probably not as convinced as he or she is with their religion. And I think that this is one thing that we need to work on, all of them, all of us, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and all religions. Here is an analogy for this particular point. Imagine a group of people stranded in a forest in a dark and stormy night. And they know that somewhere in this forest there is some cottage that's warm and nice and cozy and everything. They all have the goal of going there. But as they're walking, they're presented with different paths. Now each one of them puts their best thought into choosing the path that they're going to follow, right? And each one of them then sets through that path. Now they might well think that other people are on wrong paths. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's everything wrong in thinking that other people didn't put as much thought or don't have the same convention that their paths would lead there and that they didn't try their best. And in this world we're living in, our paths that we've chosen will diverge and meet at many places. And it's up for us to decide, what are we going to do at these meeting points? Are we going to help each other clear the paths when we meet? Or are we going to hinder one another and start fighting whenever we meet? And my answer, the answer that I hope that you will subscribe to, is that we have to help one another, that this was the practice of all the prophets, this was the practice of the original leaders of the religion throughout history. And it would really be wishful thinking for us to expect that this can happen without serious efforts on our part, or that each and every one in each and every faith must subscribe to this point of view in order for it to work. It doesn't happen that way. Here's another analogy. The train in College Station. Have you ever seen how long this train is? Have you ever been stuck in one of these slides? Now, isn't it amazing that this whole train is pulled by the car in the front and the car in the back? And then there are many cars in the middle that doesn't do much for helping it move. And there might even be broken cars in there with the wheels actually dysfunctioning, malfunctioning. So think of yourselves as being the pushing force for that train. You know, the fact that you're here today speaks a lot about your willingness and openness to help with that. Because really, with the kind of things that are going around all over the world, we could stand together or we could fall together. And it's really your choices to do that. And that's why I thank you, I reiterate my thanks to you again for coming here tonight and being part of this process. And I would encourage you to continue participating in this trip, continue carrying over events like this and carrying this further. Thank you very much and stay in peace.